Hello everyone, wishing you all a very good morning, my dear students who are joining me online on one side via Zoom, the students of the Faculty of Animal Science and Export Agriculture as well as the students of the Faculty of Applied Sciences, and on the other hand the other students of the Faculty of Management and Faculty of Technological Studies who are joining on YouTube. I warmly welcome you all back to the English language sessions of your pre-intensive course. So my dear students, as you already know, now this is the fourth English language session that you are joining today, and as this is the first time that I meet you, just let me introduce myself first. I am Samarakoon, working as a lecturer temporary attached to the Department of English Language Teaching in the Faculty of Management of Wellas University. So first of all, I just want to congratulate all of you, each and every student, for being able to selected to your respective degree programs as well as on being selected to this university, Wellas University, and become a part of UWU family. And because all of you are fortunate enough to be able to reading for a degree and become undergraduates. So my dear students, I wish you all the best of luck with everything that you are planning to do and you have to do within or throughout the academic journey that you have to go through ahead. And with that remark, let me start our session today. Before I move on to next slide or show you the topic of today's lesson, I just want to ask one question. Can you tell me, or do you have any idea about the topic of today's lesson? Because we have already uploaded the topics of each session, all the sessions, to the website, and I hope you all have an idea about the topic of today's session. So can you tell me what is the topic of the lesson or the today's session that we are going to do today? Anybody? Yes, my dear students who are joining via Zoom, you can unmute yourself, your microphones, and give me the answers. And also I want to remind that your active participation is really essential throughout this program or throughout this session, because it is going to work only if you and I are both get together and interacted together to do this successfully. Then I can do my best and you can also get the most out of this session, right? So no need to be afraid or no need to be shy. When I ask questions, you can just unmute yourself and give the answers, and also we have to do a lot of activities throughout this session, and also there also you can give me the answers, you can unmute yourself and give me the answers. So my first question, my dear student, is do you have any idea about the topic of today's lesson?
Tenses.
Yes.
About grammar and
Yeah,
tenses.
great, very good. That means you have checked the website and you are ready to go, no? Okay, so the topic of today's lesson is tenses, right? Tenses. When we come across with this the topic, you might be wondering why are we supposed to learn these tenses again, because we have already learned tenses especially from since your school time, at least since your grade 6, grade 10 and up to advanced level you have been learning tenses. And here also we are learning tenses, we are going to learn tenses. And the thing is, because here also in the university we still find students or undergraduates who do make mistakes when it comes to tenses in both writing as well as speaking, right? Therefore I think yes, of course you have learned tenses, all the tenses, both active and passive voice. But the issue is, Putha, the thing is that you have learned all the tenses but you are not using the tenses properly. That's the issue. As I see, that's the issue that we have, because we are not using them properly, we are not practicing tenses properly. That's the issue, that we can't use them accurately, or we can't use them, right? So tenses, when it comes to tenses, you know that there are different types of tenses in English language, right? Before I move on to the lesson itself, I just want to show you the objectives of today's lesson, right? Objectives. What are objectives? As we know, these are the, okay, I have pointed out 3 main objectives here, that are the things that I want you to be able to do at the end of the session, right? So the first thing that we have, students will be able to identify the tenses in English language, right? As this is the topic, tenses, you should be able to recognize the difference between different tenses in English language at the end of this session, right? And the second point, or the second objective that we are going to focus on here is, you should be able to use the active as well as passive voice in each tense. We are going to explore active and passive voice, both voices here, but due to the time frame, we are going to do only the active voice tenses today, and the second part, passive voice, will be covered in the next session that I am going to meet you, right? And the third objective that I am focusing here is, overall, you should be able to write sentences or else speak sentences in each tense. That means you should be able to speak or write sentences in all the tenses in English language. So these are the 3 key objectives that we are focusing here today. So my dear students, keep that in mind. You are going to learn the tenses again, and I mean learn as well as practice tenses, not only learning. And at the end, you should be able to master all the tenses in English language, both active as well as passive, right? Okay, so I am moving on to the next slide. The first topic, definition of tense. Now, when it comes to tense, the definition, let's look at the definition here. Tense is a grammatical concept that refers to the time of an action or event, right? Now we know that tenses fall into the category of grammar when it comes to a language, right? And it is a grammatical concept. And when it comes to a tense, just think about tense as a time machine, right? Because tense helps us to talk about the events or the actions or the states of being in relation to time, right? Actually, it's all about when the things or the stuff happened, you know, when the stuffs or things go down, right? Whether it is happening right now, whether it has happened before, or whether it's going to happen in future, and so on, right? For example, if you want to say that, if you want to share some kind of experience, past experience with your friends, for example, an adventure, an amazing adventure, then when you have to use past tenses, right? When you past tenses, then the listeners or the audience or your friends get to know that you are zooming back in time and sharing what happened or what went back then, right? By using the tense correctly, past tenses, you can convey the idea, convey the message to the others, and then in a way that everybody can understand, right? So it indicates when an action took place in relation to the current moment, right? Now tenses shows us the connection between action in relation to the moment that we are living, right? For example, now if I say now we are studying here, you know that the action studying is still ongoing and it is not completed, it is continuing, right? Now it is just like time traveling. You can just explain everything here at present, and you can quickly go to the past and explain everything happened in the past, yesterday or the previous days and in the past, and instantly you can jump into the future. Just how wonderful they are. We can do these things thanks to the tenses in English language or any language, grammar, tenses, right? So think about tenses as what? we can travel time traveling, and also they are grammatical concept that refers to the time of an action or event or else states of being, right. So now you have a understanding, you know what a tense is, and let's just have a look at the importance of learning tenses, right. Let's just have a look at what are the importance of learning tenses. Now here I have highlighted three main importance of learning tenses, and the first reason is that proper use of tenses ensures clarity and accuracy in communication. So my dear students, using correct tense is like some kind of a secret code to communication. Actually not a secret, but it's a code because everybody knows it, right. It's just like a code for effective communication. For now, when you use an incorrect or wrong tense, then it can lead to misunderstanding, misinterpretations as well as to confusions, right. For example, now if I use present tense, let me paint a picture for you. For example, now I want to share, okay, for example, I am still in Hungary, right. Okay, just imagine you don't know much about tenses. You don't know much about tenses and you only know the present perfect tense, right. You are a beginner, you only know the present perfect tense, you don't know much about the other tenses, and then when you talk you use that tense. You have only that tense, no, therefore you use that tense. Then in a moment when you feel hungry, if you say I have eaten, even still you are in hungry, then others will get confused and you won't get nothing at all, because the tense is incorrect. Because you are in hungry, you want something to eat, but you say you have eaten because you know only that tense. You are using only that tense. Therefore, using correct and the appropriate tense helps us to convey our meaning clearly and also to reflect the tense or the time of our action or the state of being, right. So therefore, proper use of tenses ensure clarity and accuracy in communication, right. And then second importance, tenses help convey the timeline of events and action in a coherent manner. The timeline helps us to the tense helps us to convey the timeline. That means when we talk about anything using different tenses, then the others can understand the sequence of the events. Past tense, past perfect, and then present, and then the future. It's just like a timeline, right. Therefore, when we use different tenses, when we speak or when we write, we have to use different tenses, no. We can't use only one tense, no. Therefore, when we use different tenses, then it helps us to, these tenses help us to, the understanding of these tenses helps us to give a clear idea and to the audience or to the listeners, and they can understand the sequence of the events happens and as well as in which context they occurred, right. And the last but not the least one, this is the most important one, appropriate use of tenses improves writing and speaking skills, enhancing overall language proficiency. Now my dear students, now as undergraduates, all of you are undergraduates. Being an undergraduate means you have to do a lot of works, right. You have to engage in different activities, right. It might be you are giving a presentation, or you are writing an essay, or engaging an assignment, or writing an answer for an assignment or at the exam, right. You have to read a lot, you have to write a lot, as well as you have to speak a lot in English, right. All the three tasks you have to do all the three tasks, and then in order to do them well, you need to have a good foundation when it comes to English language. You can have big improvements in your language, and especially in terms of English language, if you have a good foundation when it comes to tenses. If you have a good understanding about all the tenses, then you can write properly and you can speak well, as you can even read and understand or comprehend something properly, because you know what it means, what they tell you to, what the passage tell you, because you know all the tenses. Because when it comes to a passage or a written piece, then it contains not only one tense, not only one voice. There are two voices in English language, active and passive, as well as different tenses. So therefore, when you have a good or a solid understanding of the knowledge of tenses in English language, it is crucial, it will be helpful for you to go through the, not only in academic context, but also after, when you have graduated and in your professional context also, these things will be helpful. Therefore, this is the first stage in your academic journey. So this is the most important stage, and this is the best time for you to improve, especially when it comes to English language. This is only one part, tenses. Therefore, my dear students, this is where importance of learning comes, right? So with that, I just move on to my next slide. Okay, hope you can see the slide. In the middle, the word is meaning, and around the meaning there are 4 aspects: aspect, mood, voice and tense. When it comes to creating the meaning, when we want to give some kind of idea or something that we want to say or write, then the meaning is created through the combination of these 4 things when it comes to grammar or the language. First, tenses. Tense, we know that tense, when it comes to tense, it is whether it is past, present or future. And voice, we know that it is the relationship between the subject and the action, that means active or passive. And the mood, whether it is interrogative, whether it is a question or a condition, or whether it is a statement, imperative, or a order, imperative. And then aspect. Aspect is whether the action happens or how the action happens over time, whether it is still ongoing or whether it is repeated or whether it is completed, and so on. So when it comes to meaning creation, we need to focus on these key 4 aspects, and these key 4 aspects play a crucial role in creating meaning when it comes to convey a message, right? Now, my next question I want to ask is that, my dear students, when it comes to English language, can you tell me how many tenses are there in English language? As you know, because you have already studied these things, as you know, how many tenses are there in English language?
There are 12 tenses, ma'am.
12 tenses. Okay, very good. 12 tenses are there. Are they all the tenses? Yes? Okay, I'll show you my next slide here. When it comes to English language, there are 2 aspects, as I told you earlier. The main two aspects are tense and aspect. When it comes to English language, there are 3 main tenses. We can divide the tenses into 3 main categories as present, past and future, right? And then in each tense, we can divide each tense into smaller parts, like based on the aspects. There are 4 aspects for each tense, right? What are the 4 aspects? Simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous. So 3 into 4, 12. So there are 12 tense and aspect combinations in English language or English grammar, right? So the tenses, mainly 3 tenses, and tenses can be divided into simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous. Okay, right? So today we are going to look at each tense, right? We are going to look at present simple, present continuous, present perfect continuous, as well as when it comes to past, past simple, past continuous, past perfect and past perfect continuous, as also future, future simple, future continuous, future perfect and future perfect continuous. Altogether 12 tenses and aspects combination, right? So the first tense that I am going to dive into is that, as we all know, present tense simple. Now we know that when it comes to a sentence structure in English language, English grammar, we know that the structure, the sentence formation is subject plus verb plus object. We already know that, right? And when it comes to simple present tense, I just want to give a brief overview of the verbs related to present simple. We can divide verbs like that: be verbs, action verbs and modal verbs. We already know that modal verbs are there: can, may, might, must, ought to, have to and need to. It is a separate lesson, right? And when it comes to be verbs and action verbs, when it comes to simple present tense, when do we usually use be verbs? You know that simple present tense be verbs are am, is, are, right? And on the other hand, we have action verbs. That means the things that we do, actions, right? Write, eat, dance, speak and so on. So first let's look at be verbs. So my dear students, when do we actually use be verbs and when do we actually use action verbs, and what's the difference between these two? Yes, when do we actually use am, is, are in terms of simple present tense? Yeah, any idea? Yes, be verbs. When do we use am, is, are? Now you know that when it comes to simple present tense, we don't use am, is, are with action verbs. I don't say I am write sentences, it's incorrect. She is eat rice, it's incorrect. We don't combine both two verbs, types of verbs into one, combine them together when it comes to simple present tense. Both goes in different ways. Okay, be verbs, when it comes to be verbs, am, is, are, we can use them if you want to say something about some kind of idea related to, okay, just imagine I am 22 years old. For example, just imagine I want to say my age. I say it as I am 22 years old. Subject is I, am, be verb and then the complement 22 years old. Am here acts as the be verb because it is not, there is no any action, right? It is something kind of, it is a quality or some kind of state of me. When you want to describe some kind of a quality or a state of being, we use am, is, are in present tense. For example, I am hungry. She is in the classroom, right? They are in the auditorium. Those things here, those three sentences, they talk about states of being or qualities. She is kind, she is perfect, right? It's a quality of her. When you have to describe some kind of a quality or a state of being, then you can use am, is, are based on the subject of the sentence and in present tense. For example, if the subject is I, you have to use am. If the subject is singular subject, then you have to use is. If the subject is plural, you have to use are, right? And on the other hand, when it comes to action verbs, you can't, please, I have seen a lot of students made these mistake what they combine or they use both be verbs and action verbs together when it comes to present simple tense. It is incorrect. You can't use am, right? You just avoid am, just the verb, action verb, write, right? I write letters. I write letters daily, right? I go to university daily. Go, just the verb itself, go. Here we have action verbs. We are talking about actions. If there is any action, if you want to give some kind of idea related to action, that means if you want to convey an idea about an action, if action that you do or somebody doesn't, then you have to use an action verbs, only the action verb, don't use be verbs. Use be verbs if you want to give some kind of a state of being of somebody or a characteristic or quality of somebody and so on, right? Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Then action verbs. Now when it comes to hereafter, I'm going to move on with the action verbs. So the action verbs, when it comes to action verbs present simple tense, there is something important that you have to remember. As we know, some of you may have already learned that and some of you may have not, but it's better to revise and brushing up our knowledge. So the action verbs, positive, affirmative, plural sentences. As we looked at on the previous slide, the structure of the plural, affirmative or positive sentences is subject plus base form of the action verb plus object. That means subject I write report. I write reports, right? I write reports. This is a positive or affirmative plural sentence. When the subject is plural, you can keep the base form, the action verb itself as it is and tell you the rest of the sentence. But the thing is, when it comes to simple present tense, singular sentences, that means if the subject is singular, if you have a singular subject, then please remember, make sure to include what you should include there. What's the difference between the previous sentence and the sentence below?
We have to put S in
Yeah,
the
very good. Yeah, you have to put S. That means when it comes to English language, simple present tense simple sentences, please make sure to put S to the main verb. We are talking about action verbs here. Make sure to put S to the verb, and only if the subject is singular. If the subject is she, he, it, or the teacher, or the students, or the president, that means the singular subject. If the subject itself acts as a singular subject or a noun, then you have to keep the verb with S and go on with the rest of the sentence. Please make sure to include that. And the thing is here, students, my dear students, you have to remember the spelling rules as well. Now, you may have already learned these things now. When it comes to putting S to the main verb of the simple present tense sentences, it's not only S. What are the other forms? Yeah?
ES.
ES as well as?
S.
Sorry? ES as well as IES? Yeah. Yes, yeah, great. So spelling rules. Next slide. Spelling rules. In the simple third person singular, if the subject is singular, we add S, ES or IES. When we put ES, we have to put ES to the verb if the verb ending with one of those letters. That means if the verb has CH, SH, double S, X or O at the end of the verb, then you have to put ES to make it singular, right? So the teachers, wash become washers, kiss become kisses, fix become fixes, and go become goes. Go, ES, goes, right? So make sure to include ES if the main verb of the sentence ending with one of those letters. And if the verb ending with Y, before ending with the Y, if there is a consonant, then you have to put IES. Fly, try, cry, study, right? You have to just put IES, not just S. Just cut the Y and put IES. Cries, tries, flies, and so on. And we add S to all the other verbs: walks, loves, swimmings, plays, sits, right? So this is really important to make sure. Please make sure when you write or when you speak about simple present tense sentences, when you talk simple present tense sentences, please ensure to use S, IES or ES when it based on the ending of the verb, and then it would be it would not be a problem. And then now here we have, up to this point we know the formation of simple present tense sentences or the sentence. That means subject, verb, object. If the subject is plural, no worries, you can keep the action verb itself and go on. If the subject is singular, you have to make some amendment to the verb. That means you have to put s, oies, oes based on the ending of the verb, and that's all. Now, if my next question is, Pudha, if I ask you, when do we actually use present tense simple tense? What are the usages, or what is the function of using simple present tense? If I ask that question, can you give me an answer? When do we actually,
for habitual actions.
Sorry?
For habitual actions, we always use
Yes, exactly correct. Habitual actions. Is that only for habitual actions?
And for the universal truth.
Universal truth, exactly, yeah. Universal truth. So, let's go one by one, right? Let's go one by one. I have the second answer that you gave me. The first usage of simple present tense is that, what's the first usage? Facts, permanent situations and general or universal truths. That means permanent situations. It is true in the past, present as well as in future. When it comes to simple present tense, it's not about the present moment, right? Please remember, it is not about the present moment. There are different usages of using simple present tense. So, I am going to explain them one by one. The first usage of using simple present tense is to talk about facts or permanent situations and general truth or universal truths. For example, now facts. Mary enjoys cooking. Mary, subject singular, enjoys, s is there because Mary is singular. Cooking. Mary enjoys cooking. It is a fact because it is a truth, because it is something that Mary does like to do. Her habit, right? Mary enjoys cooking in the past, and also in the present she enjoys cooking. In future also she enjoys cooking. It is something related to Mary, her habit. It is not going to change, right? And also the second example, the president of the USA lives in the White House. It is also a fact. We all know that, right? It is not going to change. It is a fact and a permanent situation and a general truth. On the other hand, the general truths, the earth goes round the sun. When you have to talk about general truth, or the earth or the cow eat grass, it is a truth. Penguins live in Antarctica. Water freezes at 0 degree. These are the general truths in the universe or the nature or the world, in the world. So, when you have to talk about those things, please make sure to include simple present tense. Right? If the subject is singular, please make sure to include a s or es or ies based on the ending of the verb and go on. Water is singular, therefore freezes, not freeze, freezes, es is at the end, at 0 degrees. It is a universal truth. Water freezes at 0 degrees. Therefore, you have to use simple present tense. Is that clear, Buddha?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Then, that's the first usage of simple present tense, and then I am moving to the second one. Okay, what's the second usage? Scheduled events arranged in the near future according to a timetable. Now, this is something new to you because it is uncommon. Not everybody knows, as I think. For example, now the bus leaves at 8 a.m. on Tuesday. Here I have used simple present tense. Now normally we know that when we talk about future actions or something that happened in future, we have to use future tense. No? But Putta, if it is a scheduled event or something arranged in near future, you know that it is going to be happened exactly in the future. Therefore, for example, the examination starts. The examination ends at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Tomorrow is future, but you know that the exam is going to start and ends at that specific time. The train arrives to Paris at 10 p.m. You know that it arrives on time. It is based on a timetable. The meeting begins at 4 p.m. You already know that. It is going to happen for sure. Then you can use simple present tense, right? The bus leaves at 8 a.m. to Tuesday. Okay, you can say the meeting starts 8 a.m. tomorrow. Therefore, we have to go. Then when we talk about scheduled events arranged in near future according to timetable specially, then better to go with simple present tense. No need to use future tense. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Then the second usage, and now I am going to the third one, to give instructions or orders or directions. These actually the imperative forms as well. Go straight on the road and then turn left. Directions, when we have to give orders or some kind of commands to somebody or instructions or directions to go somewhere, then we can use simple present tense base action verbs. Go straight on the verb and then turn left. To open a new document, click on the icon of the document, and first add sugar to the butter and then add 2 eggs and stir well. Go up the stairs and turn right. Go, turn, add, click. The verb is in simple present tense because you can use simple present tense to give actions or command or give instructions or direction to go somewhere. The third usage of simple present tense. And then the next usage, I am moving on to my next slide, with stative verbs. Stative verbs. What are stative verbs? Now up to this point we were talking about action verbs, right? And here we have stative verbs. What are stative verbs? Yeah, you can see the slide now. Verbs that describe senses, verbs of possession, verbs of perception, verbs of emotions or feelings, or verbs of description. Now these verbs are related to some kind of idea related to a state of mind or mentality, not action verbs. They are states of mind related to our mentality. Describe verbs like look, sound, smell, taste and feel. This sauce tastes wonderful. This bag looks good. Looks good because the bag, the subject is singular, therefore you put S, looks good. Your trip sounds great. It sounds great. It is something related to our senses. Therefore it is called a stative verb, right? Verbs of possession: have, belong, possess or own. This camera belongs to my wife. Belongs. It is not an action verb, it is a state of mind or a mentality, right? It is therefore, you can use it in simple present tense. I have put this here because when you convert these tenses or the sentences into negative or interrogative, what another word, can you give me another word for interrogative sentence? What are interrogative sentences?
Negative sentences.
Sorry?
Negative sentences.
Puta, negative sentence is another thing. I am asking what are interrogative sentences?
Question sentence.
Questions,
Questions.
yeah, yes. Interrogative means questions. Now I have put here stative verbs in simple present tense because when you convert these tenses into negative or interrogative or the questions sentences, you have to go with according to the present tense order or the verb formation. We'll look at it later, but here for the moment just remember we can use these tenses or these verbs when it comes to present simple tense, right? Verbs of emotions or feelings. Do you mind if I open the window? I love you, I love him. I prefer going back, right? Prefer going back. Stative verbs. And then the last one, the one that you gave me as the answer, habits, routines or repeated action. This is the most common usage that we all know, as I hope. We know that we use present simple tenses, sentences to talk about the things that we do repeatedly. that we do on daily basis. That means basically what the habits, right? She gets up early in the morning. It is something that she does every day. It is her habit. Then if you are talking about some kind of a habit of somebody, of a routine of somebody, or of a routine or a repeated action, then please make sure to use simple present tense, right? The child drinks milk every day. I go to school by car. Thomas always listen to slow music. It is something that Thomas always does. Thomas always listen to slow music, right? It is something that Thomas prefers to do. Sarah usually comes to work on foot and he eats breakfast every day. They never write letter to me, and I brush my teeth twice a day. He goes to the hospital for dialysis 3 days a week. You rarely sleep late. Now, Putha, can you identify some specific time words, time expressions throughout these sentences? When we talk about repeated or habitual actions, can you identify some kind of time expressions in these sentences? For example, first sentence, she get up early in the mornings. The child drinks milk every day. Here we have every day, and Thomas always listen to slow music, always, and Sarah usually, and there is another every day, and also twice a day, and then 3 days a week, and rarely. What do we call them? We call them
Adverbs.
Yes, adverbs of frequency, Putha. Adverbs of frequency. Yes, they are adverbs, and they belong to the category of adverbs of frequency. Because why? It shows how often things happens. We are talking about habitual actions, and adverbs, when we use adverbs of frequency, they show us how often they happen, right? So make sure when you are talking about habits or routine or repeated actions, then you can better to go with adverbs of frequencies based on the idea that you want to give. If you want to say something that never happened, then you can use the adverb never. They never write letter to me. If it is something rarely happened, then you can use the adverb of frequency rarely. You can use every day, frequently, sometimes, right, and seldom, and so on, right? So here these adverb, now the repeated actions, they happen in the past, and also it is true to the now present as well as it can be happen in the future as well. Therefore they are habits, they are truth, and those are the 5 main usages or functions of using, the functions of simple present tense or present simple tense, right? Now I hope you have got an understanding about the usages of simple present tense. Just to check your understanding, let's just have this quick activity. I hope you can see the screen. Identify the correct category of sentences. Now here I have just given 17 sentences here, and on the other hand you have the each specific, the usage of simple present tense. What are the usages? Facts, permanent situations and general truths, scheduled events arranged in the near future, to give instructions and directions with stative verbs, habits, routines or repeated actions. Now I want you to one by one read each sentence and tell me to which category that sentence belongs to. First sentence, she thinks he is handsome. She thinks, just think about the verb itself. She thinks he is handsome. To which category that we can put that sentence?
Stative verbs.
Sorry, stative verbs. Yes, great. Stative verbs. Think is a stative verb. Very good. And then the train leaves in 10 minutes. Scheduled events arranged in the near future. The train leaves in 10 minutes for sure. Therefore, it is arranged. It has already been arranged, and we know that it leaves in 10 minutes. Run to the class and bring the water bottle.
To give
To give
instructions.
Instruction or command. Okay. Then he lives in America. He lives in America.
Permanent
Permanent
situation.
situation. Yeah, it's a fact. It's a permanent situation. And then my father goes to gym every day.
Habits or
Habits, yeah, habit of my father. Babies wake up for the noise.
General truths.
General truth, yeah. I love cooking. I love cooking.
Dative verbs.
Love, yes, we can get it as a stative verb as well as a fact. It is something related to true, something true related to me, right? Sprinkle some salt and mix it well.
To give instructions and directions.
Usually they visit their mom on weekends.
Routines or repeated actions.
Repeated actions. We speak English.
Facts. Permanent
Facts,
situations.
okay, or yeah, yes. Then it smells really good.
Stative verbs.
Stative verb, smells. Humans are mortal.
General truths.
General truth or a fact, yes.
Facts.
I cut my nails once a week.
Habits.
Trees exhale oxygen.
General truth.
Fact or general truth or universal truth. Then Sri Lankans celebrate New Year festival. Yes. Sri Lankans celebrate New Year festival.
Fact.
Yes, it is a general truth or a fact. She believes him. Stative verb, believe, yeah. Go along the road, stop at the junction and look up.
To give instructions.
Okay, very good, well done. Now I hope you understand how to use positive sentences in each, based on each and as well as usages of simple present tense. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Then we are going to move on to now my next point. Now here up to this point we looked at positive sentences. That means positive or affirmative. We can say both positive sentences. And as you told me earlier, there are negative as well as question or interrogative sentences. We have to, when we speak or when we write, we have to use both three different sentences types. So when we convert positive or when we have to tell something in negative sentences or positive sentence in simple present tense, you need a helping verb. Can you tell me what is the helping verb that we need to make positive sentences in simple present tense to negative or questions? We need a helping verb. Sorry? Yes, very good. We need do, does. When do we use do and when do we use does? Negative and interrogative sentence. So Puta, if you want to say something negative related to any usage of the previous usage that we looked at, then if the subject of the sentence is I or plural, then you have to use do. If the subject is singular, you have to use does, right? Do, does is the go grammar tool here. Now here I have given some examples here: present simple tense, affirmative, positive and negative as well as interrogative. We know that subject verb is the structure of the word sentence formation of affirmative sentences, and when it comes to negative, you have to put subject and then do or does plus not and then the main verb. You have to make sure there are three parts: do or does, not plus main verb. She does not leave, I do not leave, they do not leave, right? So make sure to include all the three parts within your verb, right? Do not live, does not live. There are 3 parts, and then you can go on with the rest. When it comes to an interrogative, when you have to ask questions, make sure to come or make sure to bring the helping verb do or does to the front. I live, I do not live. If you want to ask the question whether I live, then you can ask, you can bring the verb, the helping verb do to the front, and then do I live. I live, do I live, then it becomes a question. She lives, does she lives? And the other thing here, please remember, she lives, we have the sentence she lives, right? She lives in Paris. It's a fact or a permanent situation. We know that. Therefore, we use simple present tense. She lives in Paris. She is subject, lives is in singular form because she is the singular subject. And if you want to ask that question whether she lives in Paris, then you have to put the helping verb does at the front, in the front, I mean before the subject of the sentence, does, and please make sure not to put the verb of the main verb, the sentence or the main verb in the sentence in singular form. You have to put it in base form. That means does she live, not does she lives. It is incorrect, right? You can't use does she lives because does indicates it is a singular verb sentence. Therefore, does she live, therefore make sure to include the verb itself in plural or the base form if you are asking a question related to singular subject. Does she live, does it love, does he live, right, and so on. Make sure you are not using the s or the singular form of the verb when you are using a subject as a singular subject, when you are using a singular subject for the sentence, right? And here I have more examples. Now here, when you compare these two charts, you can identify the difference between action verbs as well as the be verbs. Now on the first side, this side you have affirmative, negative, interrogative sentences with be verbs of simple present tense. I am a doctor, I am not a doctor, am I a doctor? We are taking the be verb into the front and make the question, am I a doctor? And here we have action verb sentences. His wife sets the table. Who is the sentence, I mean who is the subject of that sentence? Who is the subject of that sentence? His wife sets the table. Yes, Puta, who is the subject of the sentence? His wife sets the table.
His wife.
His wife. Then what's the verb?
Sets.
Sets. Why there is a s in the verb? Because his wife is singular. Okay. Then when it comes to negative, when we convert the idea into a negative, his wife sets the table, then we put does and not before the main verb. His wife does not set the table, but the letter s is not there with the verb, main verb set, because you use does with you use the helping verb does, right? And does his wife set the table? That's the question. You bring the helping verb to the front to make a sentence, I mean to make a question or an interrogative sentence, right? So can you understand the difference between be verbs and action verbs? When we have to use be verbs and when we have to use action verbs? Is that clear?
Yes,
Yes, we are friends, they are farmers, she is my sister, she is 12 years old. Those are states, right? I mean the qualities or characteristic of somebody. That means there is no any actions happening there in that idea, in that sentence. Then you have to go with be verbs. If there is an action, then go with that particular action only. Don't combine these two when it comes to present simple tense. I hope you understood. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now, To check whether you have understood how to make questions, I just have a small activity here. Make questions. Now the words here are jumbled, right? They are not in correct order. I just want you to tell me what's the correct sentence. You have to make questions. You have to make questions, simple present tense questions. What's the three words in the first sentence? You speak English. How can we make the question?
Do you speak English?
Do you speak English? Okay. How do you get the helping verb do here? Why do you get the helping verb do here?
Because there is a verb speak. We can get speak.
Okay, speak is there. Is that the reason you get do? Why you can't get does?
Because we always use
Sorry?
do for you. We always use the helping verb do for you.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
it's plural.
Yeah. Because you is, we take you, the pronoun you, as a plural pronoun. So when you have the plural pronoun you have to go with always go with the helping verb do. Do you, not does you, right? Do you, then do you, and then the main verb speak English, correct. Next one, second one, when he go home.
When does he go home?
When does he go? Here there is something special. We have a WH word here, right? When you make questions with WH words, you can put the WH word at the beginning and then go with the question itself. Does he go home? It's the question. Yes or no question. Does he go home? Yes or no. Yes or no question. And if you want to know whether she, okay, if you want to know more about that a particular thing or the idea, then you can use WH questions. You want to know about the time that he is going home, then you can use the WH word at the beginning. When does he go home, right? Put the helping verb does after the WH word. And the third one, they clean the bathroom.
Do they clean the bathroom?
Do they clean the bathroom? Where she ride her bike?
Where does she ride her bike?
Where does she ride her bike? Where, WH word, helping verb does, and then you have the subject she, and then the main verb ride her bike. Billy work in the supermarket.
Does Billy work in the supermarket?
Does Billy work in the supermarket? Why did you choose does there?
Billy is singular.
Because Billy is a name, a proper noun of a person. Therefore, we have to put does as the subject is a singular subject. We an exam on Saturday night have.
Do we have an exam on Saturday night?
Do we have an exam on Saturday night? Sri Lanka believe all the terrorism should be stopped.
Does Sri Lanka believe all the terrorism should be stopped?
Why did you select does?
Because Sri Lanka is a singular.
Because Sri Lanka we take it as an abstract noun, or the noun itself is a singular noun, Sri Lanka. Does Sri Lanka, therefore we have to use does, right? Does Sri Lanka, and why you use does? Because there is the stative verb believe. Here that's why I put that stative verbs in the part of present tense, present simple tense, because when we convert them into what, negative or interrogative, we need do does. Does Sri Lanka believe all the terrorism should be stopped? Innocent look she.
Does she look innocent?
Does she look? Can you tell me the verb of this sentence? What is the verb?
Look.
Look. Is it an action verb or a stative verb?
Action verb.
It acts as, yes, sorry?
Stative verb.
Stative. There it acts as a stative verb. For sense, right? She looks innocent. Then what? Does she look innocent? Okay. Now that's all about simple present tense. Now we have looked at what are the usages or different functions of using simple present tense. There are mainly 5 functions, usages that I told you, and we looked at how to make them the simple present tense affirmative or the positive sentence, and how to give some kind of idea in negative simple present tense, and also questions, how to make questions, as well as the difference between be verbs and action verbs, as well as stative verbs. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So simple present tense is done. Now I am moving on to our next tense. What is that? In the category of present tense, we have the aspect, we have done the aspect present simple. Next aspect?
Present continuous.
Present continuous. Good. Present continuous tense. Now, if I ask you the question, when do we use present continuous? When?
We use present continuous tense to describe an action that is going on this moment, ma'am.
Okay, exactly. That's the common or the main usage of using present continuous. We use present continuous to talk about things happening right now, right? So the formation or the structure of the sentence is like that. How? Subject plus am, is, are plus present participle plus complement. Now Putta, present participle is the verb plus ing form. We call it present participle. We have past participle and this is present participle, right? So subject I, am, is, are, you have to put here. We need be verbs. When it comes to the simple present tense, we don't combine be verbs with action verbs. But when it comes to present continuous tense, we combine both be verbs and action verbs here. That combination is here, only in present continuous tenses, right? Subject I and then am, is, are based on the subject am and then present participle verb plus ing, writing a report. I am writing a report at the moment. At this moment I am doing that, right? That's the formation. So when do we use present continuous? Present continuous is used to talk about that is happening at the moment of speaking. As you told me, that means the action is ongoing. It is not finished. I am conducting an experiment right now. At the moment I am engaging in an experiment, right? She is analyzing the data for her research project. At the moment she is working on that. Then when you talk about things like that, when you have to speak about the surroundings that are happening right now, the things that are happening right now, or the things that the people are doing or you are doing, then you have to use present continuous tense. Please make sure to include, use the correct order of the tense or the sentence tense, right? And the other thing, Putta, when it comes to present continuous tense, please make sure we don't use these stative verbs in present continuous tense. We know that what are stative verbs, we know what stative verbs are. For example, possession verbs and verbs related to senses, verbs related to emotion, mental states and other. Have, possess, sound, smell, look, love, like, hate, right, prefer, need, wish. Now you might be wondering why we can't use them now. For example, now here I have few examples. We don't say I, even though at the moment you are in love with somebody, you don't say I am loving you. Have you ever heard that phrase before? No, we normally say I love you. Even though you are in the moment you are in love, we say I love you because it is a stative verb. We usually don't use stative verbs in present continuous tense. I like your haircut, not I am liking your haircut. She likes or she dislikes him so much, not she easily disliking. I love you. I hate Monday mornings, not I am hating. At the moment I am hating Monday mornings. No, it's incorrect. I hate Monday mornings. We prefer red wines. That's why I put these stative verbs into the what? Present tense category. Those are the things that we normally prefer or do related to that. They are true to in the past, present as well as future all the time. He wants a new car, not he is wanting. I need your help, I am needing, it's incorrect. I am not minding, no, I don't mind. She cares for her baby, yes, she is caring. Now here you might be thinking why we can't use care as a action verb. Yes, here there are some verbs that act as dynamics as well as stative. For example, think. Now I think it is a good idea. Here it is about your state of mentality, your mentality, state of mind. I think it is a good idea. It is a state of mind. There it acts as a stative verbs. And the second sentence, wait a moment, I am thinking. There it as an action acts as an action verb because I am in the process of thinking. Then you can use it is in present continuous. I am thinking now. I have an old car. Possession, a stative verb. On the other hand, you can also use it as a dynamic verb. I am having a quick break now. Action, having a break is an activity, having, right? I am in the process of having a break. See, do you see any problem with that? State or opinion, my opinion. We are seeing Nima tomorrow afternoon, right? Taste, this coffee tastes delicious. Our perception of the coffee. Senses, right? Taste. Look, the chef is tasting the soup. That means the chef is tasting the soup now. She is in the action of tasting the soup, right? So there are some verbs that you can use when it comes to stative verbs that you can use in both dynamic as well as stative verbs. Present continuous. So the first usage is that, as we already know, to talk about or to write about the things that are happening at the moment. And the next one, okay, tell me what are the time expressions that we can use when we are talking about present continuous. You can use the word now. What else? We can use
Just
now, just now, okay.
at this moment.
At this moment, or right now, so on, right? You can, it's better to use time expressions when we give some kind of idea related to any tense. And then next usage of present continuous tense. Present continuous tense is used to talk about changing situations. What's that? Now it is related to, a general idea. You are getting taller and taller every day. This is related to me, a specific person, and he is in the process of getting taller. It is not completed yet. That means he is in the process. Therefore, it is a changing situation. Then you can use present continuous. You are getting taller and taller every day. The weather is getting warmer today. Getting warmer, it is in the process. I am becoming confident. Now, I am becoming confident in speaking English. The cost of living is rising or increasing. These days, the cost of living is increasing, right? It is a changing situation. Then you can use present continuous tense. And also, the present continuous tense is used to talk about operation of something, especially related to technical things or the machines. For example, my car is not working. Operation of my car. My car is not working now. At the moment, it is not working. The blender is working properly. It is working properly. The operation of something, right? So the second usage, you can use present continuous to talk about the changing situations overall, and then also to talk about operation of something, especially the machines and so on. And the next usage, present continuous is used to talk about temporary situation and things we are doing these days. As I told you, just similar to that changing situations, as well as you can talk about the things that you are engaged in these days. I am living in London for few weeks. Now for few weeks I am living in London. We are planning a house these days. I am following an English course these days. We are engaging in pre-intensive course these days. These days you are doing that. You have started it and you are at the moment, even though you are not, even though you are not engaged in that particular action, if you are doing it, basically overall throughout a time period these days, then you can use present continuous. There you can use time expressions like for few months, for a couple of weeks, currently, in the present, and so on. Those are the time expressions that we can use, right? And the last usage of present continuous tense. Present continuous tense is used to talk about fixed future arrangements, right? This is really important. When we specially speak in English, we normally use this point. Rather than you can use it in writing, in general writing, but especially in spoken English, we use this point. What? We can use present continuous tense to talk about our future arrangements. That means if I have planned to go to Kandy tomorrow, then I can say to one of my friends that I am going to Kandy tomorrow. I am going to Kandy. It is in present continuous tense, but it is a fixed future arrangement I have already made. That means I know that I am going. Then you can say I am going. You can say, okay, my dear friends, I am coming tomorrow. I am coming tomorrow. It is in present continuous, but it gives some kind of future idea. Therefore, you no need to always use will or future verbs to give future ideas. Earlier present tense, you can use future arrangements, especially scheduled times, arrangements to do in near future. In near future, you can use simple present tense. The exam starts at 9 a.m. Then you can use your future, basically our future arrangements, the things that we have planned or ready to do for sure. Then you can use present continuous to talk about those things. I am meeting my father at the airport 5 o'clock tomorrow. That means my father is arriving tomorrow, then I am going to meet him. Then you can say I am meeting. We are having lunch together at the weekend. This weekend we are having lunch together. I am coming tomorrow, they are coming tomorrow, right? You can use present continuous to talk about future fixed arrangements that you have already planned to do, right? Is that clear? Is that clear, Putta?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I want to, because one by one in each section, in each tense we are going to have a brief small activity. For this tense, I just want you to tell me some example sentences for each usage. For this usage, when do we use present continuous? First usage is that to talk about something that is happening right now, the things that are happening right now. Now can you tell me examples about the things that are happening right now in your area, or the things that you are doing? If I ask the questions, what are you doing right now? Can you tell me some example sentences using present continuous?
We are studying through Zoom now.
Okay, good. We are studying via Zoom now. What else? Anybody else?
I'm writing an essay now.
You are writing an essay now. Anything else? Anybody else? One more.
We are engaging in the pre-intensive course at the moment.
Okay, we are engaging in the pre-intensive course at the moment. Okay, well done, good. Then the next usage, I want you to tell me sentences for that usage. The present continuous is used to talk about changing situations. Can you give me some sentences to that particular usage? I am becoming confident. Yes, any tense, any sentence.
He is recovering every day.
She is recovering these days. She is recovering these days because she has been ill for a few weeks and she is recovering these days. Good. Any other?
Our school is developing day by day.
Our school is developing day by day. It is a changing situation these days. Good. Present continuous is used to talk about the operation of something. Easy. An example. Yes. Any example? Sentence? Yes. My car is not working, my laptop is not working, right? Okay, alright. Can you give me two sentences for these two? Present continuous to talk about, okay, at least the last one. Present continuous is used to talk about fixed arrangements. Can you tell me something that you have already fixed, arrangements that you have planned to do in near future in present continuous?
I am planning to watch Candy Perehera next week.
I am planning to watch
Candy Perehera next week.
Candy Perahara next week. Now Puta, no need to use planning. You can just say I am watching Candy Perahara next week as well. Okay, good. Another example.
I'm working in a company for 2 years.
Now here for 2 years, if you say for 2 years, it is not related to something related to the future, no, Puta? Yes. I am asking you to give me a sentence about something that you are planning or you have already planned to do in near future. It would be tomorrow, in next week or in future. So I am coming tomorrow, present continuous. I am coming tomorrow, it is in future, but I am using present continuous because it is a fixed arrangement that I am, yes?
I'm going to university by the end of this year.
Sorry?
I am going to university by the end of this year.
Okay, it is also correct. You can use going to tense as well, but here we are using present continuous now. So the subject present continuous, the verb is amisa plus verb plus ing. So I am meeting, I am coming, then I am leaving tomorrow, I am going tomorrow. Especially we use the present continuous when it comes to talk about the action of going and coming and leaving and arriving, those things most of the time. So I am leaving, I am arriving tomorrow at this time and so on, right? Okay, so that's all about present continuous tense. We have done present simple and present continuous. And then what's the third aspect of simple present tense? Sorry, not simple present tense, present tense. Yeah, present perfect tense. Okay, so the next, I'm moving on to my next tense, present perfect tense. Now, when do we actually use present perfect tense? When it comes to present perfect tense, there are quite things that we have to remember. That means usages, quite different as well as few usages. So can you tell me one usage when we use present perfect tense?
The situation that started in the past and now still is continuing in the present.
Okay, good. So the first usage, mainly the common usage, is that we use present perfect tense to talk about the things or the action that we started in the past and still ongoing in the present. Okay, let's look at one by one the usages of present tense. sorry, present perfect tense. Now here it is a, now I have a diagram here, present perfect tense. So here we have actually the 4 usages of present perfect tense. First one, to talk about or state the thing, though the state that started in the, there should be a verb state action that started in the
Ma'am, you're muted. We are unable to hear you, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry for the interruption. Alright, so we are talking about present perfect tense, right? So can you tell me the verb formation, the structure, the formation of verb of the present perfect tense? What's the order? We have to show, okay, when it comes to the sentence of a present perfect sentence, we should have a subject, and when it comes to the verb, what is the order? We should have a
Has
helping,
plus
yeah,
the
helping
past
verb.
participle.
Past
Yes,
participle.
helping verb. What is the helping verb? Either has or have, based on the subject. Whether if the subject is singular, you should have the verb helping verb has. If the subject is plural, you should have the helping verb have. Plus, what's the other part?
Past participle.
Past participle of the verb. Now here, Puta, this is the most important thing that when it comes to tenses in English or grammar or tenses. This is one of the most important part. What? Past participle of the verb. We know that when it comes to, now on the next slide, this is just an example. We know that there are 3 main forms of verb. When it comes to a verb, there are 3 main forms or forms: first form, second form, and third form. First form is the base form. We call it the base form, or the base, or the infinitive: arise, beat, break, bite, bear, and choose. And the second form, usually we use the second form to talk about the past, simple past tense: arose, beat, broke, bit, bore, and chose. And the third form, we call it past participle of the verb: arisen, beaten, broken, bitten, born, and chosen. Now here, when it comes to the verb formation or the forms of verbs, there are 2 types of verbs: regular as well as irregular. Now here we have irregular verbs. Regular verbs, they normally have what? Can you tell me what regular verbs are?
Regular verbs, when we add ed
Just, yeah.
to make past tense, is
Yeah, great.
regular verbs.
Regular verbs means when we add ed to the main verb, then it becomes past tense, and as well as sometimes past participle also the same. Those are regular. Irregular verbs are, that means the past tense or the past participle verb form is another word, like just like these examples, arise, arose and arisen, 3 forms, 3 different words or verbs. So when it comes to tenses, especially perfect tense, present perfect, first one, we need to have a good knowledge about the past participle verbs. If you don't know the past participle of a particular verb, then you can't give that particular idea, no? Just for example, if you do, okay, let's imagine you don't know the past participle verb of the word break. You just know the verb only the break. Then you can't make present perfect sentences. You can't make present perfect continuous sentences, right? Therefore, this is really important. So my suggestion is, today itself you can find out the lists. I mean, you can find out a list. There are plenty of sources on on Google. You can just Google and find out available resources online. You can download them. Just download a list of past participle. I mean, you can go with better to go with the 2 forms, 3 forms. First form is there, second forms as well as the third forms, and then please at least study them by heart, right? Study them by heart because they are really important. You can do it by today, you can start doing it today itself, then it would be really beneficial for you to do your other things in future, because we have to write a lot in English, read a lot, especially write as well as speak a lot in English. To do so, we are not speaking only with one tense, no? We have to move to different tenses when we speak or when we write. Therefore, especially to write, you should have a good knowledge about vocabulary. A good vocabulary bank. Therefore, my suggestion is, please do download a set of verb list including first, second and third forms, past participle, and do study them by heart, especially the past form and the past participle of each verb, and then it would be really helpful for you when it comes to creating or writing sentences or speaking using different tenses. Is that clear? Will you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, alright. So, again I am moving on to present perfect tense. So, make sure there should be a past participle verb at the end of the verb formation part. And then, for example, our first usage is that we use present perfect to talk about the things that we started in the past and still ongoing or continues until up to now. For example, I have lived in England for 5 years. I started living in England earlier in the past, maybe in 2012, and still I am living in England. That means I have been living in London, and still I am in London. Then you can use present perfect tense for that such situations. I have lived in London for 5 years. For especially here we use 2 time expressions or time verbs, words like for and since, especially to give the idea about the time or the duration of how long I have been lived there. I have lived there, right? I have lived there for 5 years. Or else you can say I have lived there since 2012. You can just say I have lived in England for 5 years, or else I have lived in England since 2012, the time that you started living there, since. You can use both 2 words, for or since, when it comes to present perfect tense to talk about the things that you started in the past and continue up until now. I haven't seen Steve since last week. Since last week, I haven't seen Steve. Today also, up to this point, I haven't seen Steve. Right? So, you can tell it in present perfect. I have been an engineer since 2005. I have been an engineer. I started my journey as an engineer in 2005. So you can say I have been an engineer since 2005. You started your journey in that time, at that time, and still you are an engineer. Then you can use present perfect tense. Next point, yet, ever, never. You can use those time or the time words, expressions related to time to talk about life experience. The next usage is that we can use present perfect to talk about our life experiences. That means I have done this, my experience. I have not done this, I haven't done this. I am talking about my experiences. Second usage, to talk about my or somebody else's experiences. I have never been to Spain. I have never, I have used a frequency of adverbs there, adverb frequency, never. That means I have never been to Spain. Been there, you can also use the word gone as well. I have never gone to Spain, or else I have never been to Spain. I haven't seen the movie yet. That means it is an experience related to my life. I have not watched that movie, right? Okay, we are just having some issues here, technical issue. Just give me a few seconds. Okay, I hope you can hear me. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. I'm sorry for the interruptions. Okay, so we were talking about present perfect tense. Now here, to talk about life experiences, we can use present perfect tense. When you are talking about life experience, you can use time expression words like yet or ever or never, especially the ever and never. If you have done that, if you have not done that before, then you can use the word never, right, or ever, and so on. The party was the worst I have ever been to. The party was the worst I have ever been to. I haven't seen the movie yet. I already talked about that. And then the next usage, to say that something has happened several times. That means from the past to up to this point, something has happened several times. For example, up to now, I have completed 5 reports. the here now the important is we are emphasizing, we want to emphasize the result, not the action, or when we started the action. We are emphasizing on the result itself. Now here I have 5 reports. I have completed 5 reports. I am emphasizing, I am focusing on the 5 reports, the result, right? So I started doing it earlier in the past, and today and up to this point, at this moment I have done 5 reports. So far this morning I have made 3 phone calls. I have made 3 phone calls to my friends so far this morning. I have been to France twice so far this year. This year, here I am talking about the whole year. The starting from the very first beginning day of the year and up to this point, I have been to France twice, right? So we can use present perfect tense to talk about, actually those things are basically the life experiences, right? To say that something has happened several times, you can use up to, now, or so far words, time expression words like those. And the last one, already, now here this is the last usage of present perfect tense. We can use present perfect tense to talk about recent past events. You know that? Do you know that we can use present perfect just if you have just finished something, we can say it in present perfect tense. For example, she has recently joined jobs. That means recently she has joined her job. She has recently joined jobs. I have just finished lunch, I am not hungry. In this, when it comes to this point, you can use word or the time expression words like already, just, or recently, especially the word just. I just finished my assignment. I just finished my report, right? So I have just finished my lunch, so I am not hungry. I have already read the book. Already, the other word, the time expression, already, you can use that word as well when it comes to present perfect tense. Already and just to talk about recent past events. I have already done that. I have just finished that, and so on. Right? So those are the main 4 functions or usages of present perfect tense. Right? So please make sure, as I told you earlier, to have a good understanding of past participle verbs, especially past verbs as well as past participle verbs. I hope it is clear to you now, and here also I have included some other examples in details because that was a diagram continuing in the past. They have lived here for years. She has worked in the bank for 5 years. Have you played the piano since you were a child? Now here it is a question. When you make a question of a present perfect sentence, you have to get the helping verb have or has to the front. Have you played the piano since you were a child? It has rained a lot this year. We haven't seen her today, and so on. When the precise time of action is not important or not known, now here that is related to the what we are talking, we are emphasizing, we are focusing on only the result. Someone has eaten my soup, right? We are focusing on the result. Have you seen Gone with the Wind? Right? She has studied Japanese, Russian and English. These are just examples. Now here also I have included some example. They have seen that film 6 times, repeated actions that started in an unspecified period between past and now. It has happened several times already. And the last one, action completed in the very recent past with especially the word just, the time frame, the time expression. Have you just finished the work? I have just eaten. We have just seen her. Has he just left? Most of the time usually we use the time expression word just with those sentences, right? And then that's all about present perfect tense, and then I am moving on to present perfect continuous tense, and then later we'll have an activity on both two tenses, right? So present perfect continuous tense, as we looked at present perfect tense, now here present perfect continuous tense, the word formation or the formation of the structure of the sentence is like subject plus auxiliary verb or auxiliary verb plus main verb. When it comes to the auxiliary verb, you should keep or you should include subject plus have or has plus there should be special verb called been plus main verb plus main verb should be in ing form continuous because it is a continuous sentence continuous tense. Therefore have plus have or has plus been plus main verb in ing form plus the rest of the sentence. I have been waiting for 1 hour. She has been waiting for 1 hour. Right? Here let's look at when we actually use present perfect continuous tense. Actions that started in the past and continues in the present. Now here earlier also when it comes to present perfect tense we have that usage. Action started in the past and continues up until now. But the difference between present perfect continuous and present perfect tense is that in present perfect tense we are not specifying the duration of time. We don't want to emphasize that there is a duration when it comes to the action. But in present perfect continuous tense you are specifying that the action has some kind of some time duration. For example, she has been waiting for you all day and she is still waiting now. We are emphasizing the duration, that is the action is ongoing throughout the past time, but earlier in the present perfect tense we are not emphasizing the duration. That's the difference between present perfect and present perfect continuous. I have been working on this report since 8 o'clock this morning and I am still have not finished it. I am still on the process of finishing the report. They have been traveling since last October and they are not home yet. They are still on their journey. They have been traveling. We are emphasizing the process or the action itself. We are emphasizing the action or the duration, right? Actions that have just finished but we are interested in the results. She has been cooking since last night. The same thing. It has been raining and the streets are still wet. Someone has eaten my chips. Half of them have gone. Someone has been eating my chips. Has been eating my chips. We don't know who has eaten my chips, but the result is there, half of them have gone. Then you can, if you want to emphasize the duration, if you want to emphasize that there is a particular duration, an action going on, then you can use present perfect continuous. If not, then you can use present perfect tense. Right? I hope it is clear, and then to check whether it is clear, let's do this small activity. So I want you to make either the present perfect simple or present perfect continuous sentences. You can tell me the correct sentence with the correct form of the verb for each sentence. The first one, you buy your train ticket yet. I want you to tell me whether it is a perfect sentence or present perfect continuous tense. Yeah? You buy your train ticket yet? Sorry? Present perfect tense. Okay, can you tell me the sentence?
Have you bought your
Have you bought your train ticket yet? Yes. The past participle verb of buy is bought, so you have to use that particular verb, past participle. Next one, the kitchen is a complete mess. What the children do? The subject is the children and the verb is do. Is it, can you tell it in present perfect or present perfect continuous? What is the better to go tense?
present perfect continuous?
Yes, present perfect continuous, because there is a result and we can emphasize there is a duration of action. There is some time of duration when it comes to the action. What is the action? So you can tell the sentence in the correct order or the correct sentence. What's the correct sentence? The kitchen is a complete mess. What?
What are the children doing?
Okay, Putta, if I say what are the children doing, that means you are talking about, okay, the children are in the moment working, doing something there. Then you can say, okay, children are, what are the children doing? That is present continuous tense, Putta. Here,
What have the children been doing?
is that what are the children or?
What
Have.
the children? What have?
Yeah, not are, it should be have or has. The subject is the children, no? Therefore, the children, the subject is plural or singular?
What have?
Yeah, the children, the subject is plural, therefore we have to use have, the helping verb have, because we are talking about present perfect and present perfect continuous. For those we have to use have, has, not am, is, are. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so the correct sentence is, the kitchen is a complete mess. What have the children been doing? What have the children been doing? Being doing, because we can emphasize there is a duration of time of the action, and the result is because the kitchen is a complete mess. Okay, then the third one, Julie learned to drive for 6 years. For 6 years.
It's better to use present perfect continuous,
Yes,
ma'am,
better
and
to
the
use,
answer is
yeah, great, very good. It's better
Julie
to
has
use,
been learning to drive for 6
yeah, Julie is a name of a person, therefore we have to use present tense, then present as a singular form has. Then Julie has been learning to drive for 6 years. Julie has been learning to drive for 6 years, because she has started learning to drive 6 years ago, and she is still learning to drive, and we are emphasizing that process of learning, right? Better to go with present perfect continuous duration. Next one, Amanda already have lunch, so she will meet us later.
Present perfect simple.
and perfect.
Okay, present perfect. Tell me the answer.
Amanda has already had lunch
Yes, Amanda has already had lunch. Why do we put had there? The verb is have, no?
because the verb is have.
Okay, because the verb is have. Why can't we put have there? Amanda have lunch.
Yes, because ma'am, had is also using, we use had here to show that she's eating her
She
meals.
has
That's
eaten.
why.
Okay, when it comes to present perfect, you have to use which tense, which form of the verb? Past
Participle.
Yeah, correct. Great. Amanda has already had lunch, so she will meet us later. Next one, what is that delicious smell? You cook? There is a result. What is that delicious smell? You cook? It's a question, not a sentence. It is a question, Putta. Then how can we make the question? I ask you to bring something to the front.
No.
Okay, what's the subject there? What's the subject?
You.
You. Verb?
Have.
Okay, main verb? Cook. Subject is you. If the subject is you, what's the helping verb that we use? Has or have? Have. Okay, then when we make a question, what happens to the helping verb? Where do we put the helping verbs? In the front or in the middle?
On the front.
Front. Then at the
front.
beginning, have.
The beginning of the sentence.
Yeah, have you
cooked?
Have you cooked? Okay, you
Have
can
you
ask
been
that have
cooking?
you cooked, but there is a smell, delicious smell now, then we want to emphasize the action. That means she has been or he has been in the process of cooking. So better to go with present perfect continuous. It's up to you. You can select whether to use present perfect or present perfect continuous. If you want to emphasize the duration of the action, there is a duration, then you can go with present perfect continuous. Otherwise, you can go with present perfect tense. But better to go with here present perfect continuous tense. What's that delicious smell? Have you been cooking? It's a question. Have you been cooking? What's that delicious smell? Right? Okay. Next one, Simon write 3 books.
Has written 3 books.
Has written 3 books. Better to go
Simon
with present
has
perfect.
written-
Yeah. Yes. Result, right? Yes. I do everything I needed to do today. Hooray. I do everything I needed to do today. Hooray. Then what's the perfect tense to go? Present perfect or present perfect continuous?
Present
Present
continuous.
perfect is better to go because I am talking about a result. Then what's the correct sentence?
I
I
have
have
done.
done everything.
I have done everything I needed to do today because done is the past participle of do. Good. Next one, it not rain all day, so the garden is dead. The garden is dead. You can either use present perfect or better to go with present perfect continuous to because
Perfect.
yeah, perfect continuous
perfect
because
continuous.
raining it takes times, no? It takes time. Then you can use the correct sentence as it has not been raining all day, so the garden is dead. I am talking using negative because there is a not. The word not is there, therefore it has not been raining. It has not been raining all day, so the garden is dead. Next one, I read your book, here it is, thank you.
Present perfect.
Present perfect, what's the correct sentence?
I have read your book.
I have read your book, here it is, thank you. Last one, no, not the last, the before. Before the last one, she forget how to get to my house. She forget how to get to my house.
Present perfect tense.
Present perfect. Why can't we use it in present perfect continuous?
Because particular time.
Sorry?
Because there is no particular time in the sentence.
Okay, is that the reason? Particular time? Forget. What's the word forget means? Is that an action verb or a stative verb?
Stated?
Stative verb.
Can we use stative verbs in continuous?
No.
No. So better to
No.
go with present perfect. She has forgotten how to get to my house. Last one. I work in the garden all day. I need a rest.
Perfect continuous.
Present perfect continuous. There is a
Continuous.
duration. You have been working in the garden all day. I need a rest. Now here you can choose whatever the tense, either present or present perfect or present perfect continuous. It's up to you, Putha. Based on the thing that the idea that you want to convey, you can choose. Right? So I have been working in the garden all day and I need a rest. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So up to this point now we have covered what? Simple present tense, present perfect, present continuous, present perfect and present perfect continuous. We are done with present tense, the part present tense, and we have to go with two other tenses, past tense and future tense, and also the passive voice. Now here I told you earlier, in this session we are going to do only the active voices. Up to this point we have been talking about active voice tenses. And in the next session that I am going to meet you, I will be covering both past tense and future tense active voice as well as passive voice sentences, right? So today, to check your understanding, just at the end I have just a small activity, just to fill in the blanks activity. Can you tell me the correct form of the verb for each blank? Now choose present simple, present continuous or present perfect. There is no present perfect continuous. You can choose present simple or the appropriate verb tense based on the sentence, the idea of the sentence, whether it should be in simple present or present continuous or present perfect. Now, if the first one, Jill, water flowers once a week. Now she water flowers. She already water all flowers in the living room. What's the first answer that should be there to the first blank? Jill?
Waters.
Very good, very good. Water. Why did you put waters there?
Jill is
Is that
singular.
a noun? Is there a noun called waters? Plural water? No. Why do you call waters?
Because Jill
is singular, ma'am.
Jill
Singular.
is singular subject, then water is the verb, right? Not the noun water. There the water acts as the verb. Then as the subject is singular Jill, you have to put s to the verb waters. Good. Jill waters flowers once a week. Can you see that it is a habitual action of Jill, right? So once a week Jill waters the flowers. Then now she waters flowers. Correct answer?
present continuous.
Watering.
She is watering.
Correct. Yeah,
Watering.
correct answer. Now
She is watering.
now she is watering flowers. She already water all flowers in the living room. Present perfect.
She has
Okay.
already watered.
She has already watered all flowers in the living room. Very good. Now can you see the difference between these each tense and how we can use each tense to give our ideas? First we are talking about Jill's habitual action, then what she is doing at the moment, and then what she has already done. We are using different tenses. Next one, they just arrived from San Francisco. You ever be there? It be an amazing place. They
Just arrived.
they
They have
Just
arrived.
arrived.
is that just arrived? I ask you to use that time verb just with a particular tense to talk about.
They have just arrived.
Yes, yeah. Present perfect. They have just arrived from San Francisco. Then there is a question.
Have you ever been there?
Have you ever been there? The verb is be. Then past participle of the verb be is been. Then have you ever been there? The verb is be, an amazing place. Then
It is an amazing place.
is an amazing place. Very good. Then the third one, not you eat meat, you be a vegetarian. Actually, I not
Don't you
eat
eat
meat every day. Yes, I prefer fish and vegetables. First blank.
Don't you eat meat?
Sorry, don't you eat meat?
Don't
Yeah,
you eat
simple present tense. Why? I am asking about her truth related to her habits or general habits or routines that he or that person is doing every day. That means, do you not eat meat? Don't you eat meat? Okay, then
Are you a vegetarian?
are you a vegetarian? Actually, I
don't eat meat.
I do not or I don't eat meat every day.
I prefer fish and vegetables.
fish and vegetables. Great. Next one, why you smell your steak? Has it gone off? Has it gone off? Why you smell your steak? Yes?
Why do you smell?
Okay, you can ask why did you smell your stick, has it gone off, or else
Why have you smelled?
why have you smelled your stick, has it gone? Okay, both are correct. He seemed to be a nice person.
He seems to be a nice
He
person.
seems to be a nice person. We are talking about the characteristic or the quality of that particular person. Then you have to go with present simple tense. He seems to be a nice person. You look so sad. What? Think.
Do you think about? What are you thinking about?
Very good. You look so sad. Now here I am telling that you look so sad. At the moment you look so sad. Then we can ask the question using present continuous tense, because I am telling that you look so sad. Then we can ask what are you thinking about, right? Present continuous. Last one, you ever been to Australia?
Have you ever
Have
been?
you
Have
been
you
to
ever
Australia?
have you ever
Been to Australia?
been to Australia? Have you ever been to Australia? It is related to something related to my life experiences. Then we have to go with present perfect tense, right? Okay, so that's all about the aspects, the four aspects of four aspects of the present simple present tense, right? Simple aspect, continuous aspect, perfect aspect, and perfect continuous aspect. The four aspects have been already done. Now this is the end of today's session. We have already gone, yes, it's 11, almost 11. So, and the rest of the lesson I will be doing that part in the next session that I will be meeting you. I'm going to do both past tense as well as future tense and also passive voice. I will be covering those three parts in my next session that I'm going to meet you, right? So up to this point, I hope you have got a clear understanding or at least brushing up your knowledge on tenses, all the four aspects related to present tense. And if you have any questions, you can ask. And one thing I want to tell you is now, Putta, now as I told you earlier, now you have been learning these tenses since your school time, no? And here also we are brushing up, we are revising the tenses again. As I told you earlier, the issue is, or the thing is, because we are just only learning tenses. We are not using or practicing tenses. And also the other issue that I see is that when it comes to traditional context, traditional classroom context, normally, or the grammar, when it comes to grammar part, the teachers do is, what they do is, they just, as I just do today, just explain the tense or the sentence, each tense, and give particular activity related to that particular tenses. But the thing is, as I see, it's better to go do activities like this. Here when you do or practice activities like this, there you can see different tenses together. And in reality, when we speak or when we write, we do in that way, no, we don't use a particular sentence or a particular tense at one time. We are combining all the tenses. So better to practice using all the tenses together like these activities. Now here I have included the blanks, the sentences include all the tenses, I mean different tenses. Then it helps you to understand as well as helps you to practice all the tenses. And because that's the reality, when we speak we have to switch between different tenses as well as in writing. Therefore better to practice using different tenses at the same time, right? That's one thing that I want to tell you. And also keep on practicing writing sentences as well as speaking. You can just write sentences just like this activity. You can come up with your own sentences and then you can speak those sentences. Practice speaking those sentences. You can switch to one tense and then you can talk about present tense related to something, and then you can just jump into past tense and quickly go into future, and then move from one tense to another. and that's how you can practice, and that's how you can get get a fluent speaker or a fluent writer in English language. And you can see a big improvement when it comes to your language proficiency, especially in English language, if you have a basic foundation of tenses, right? Okay, so that's the end of this session. Any questions? Is that clear? Was everything clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I hope it is a quite, I know you have already learned these things, hope this is a quite, revising session. And then with that remark, I am going to stop this for today and hope to see you in the next session. Thank you so much for joining, both students who are joining via Zoom as well as the others on YouTube. Thank you so much and have a pleasant as well as a productive day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Goodbye.
Welcome.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, madam.